Greetings viewers, Eric the Car Guy here, also known as ETCG1 on this channel, and if it's your birthday, I want to wish you a happy birthday. Yes, I'm wearing a different hat, and this is a hat that I got when I was in Finland last week. This is actually the first video I'm shooting about my experience there. I figured the best place to put it is over on ETCG1 to get you caught up. It's going to take me a while to put together the rest of it. I also plan on doing a blog about the whole experience, which I got to tell you, it was an experience, an awesome experience, and I got this cool hat. How was your trip to Finland, Eric? Well, I got to tell you, like I said, once in a lifetime kind of thing. I ended up flying out of New York. I flew to New York and then flew out of New York to Helsinki, Finland. And I left, I don't know, about 7 or 8 in the evening in New York and ended up in Helsinki, Finland at 9 o'clock or so the next morning. Weird flight, just strange flying that far and all that kind of stuff. But the tip that I can pass on to you, which I read about before I even left, was to help prevent jet lag, drink lots of water. It helps, it really does. I did that going both ways and I was able to survive. Had a lot of adrenaline getting there. It was my first time traveling outside of North America. I've been to Canada, Mexico, but never outside of North America. And Finland was awesome for a first trip. Here's a couple of takeaways that I had. One of them was that the Finnish people, it almost seems like you died and went to Rivendell. And if you're not familiar with what Rivendell is, it's the place where all the elves live and the Hobbit, because they all kind of look like that. They are, you know, blonde, blue-eyed, not all of them, not every single one of them, but it seems like there's a lot of people with that look. And I mean just like people that belong in magazines kind of thing. It's weird. And they all look really healthy. And that's the other takeaway I had. You know, sitting in the airport at JFK and sitting in the airport at Helsinki, I had a very different experience of the people that were there. And I've got to say it, and some of you are going to kind of get mad at me about this, but I'm guilty of it too. Americans are fat. We should probably work on that. I understand why there's so many moves to try to make a difference in our weight, but I can honestly say that, yeah, Americans are fat. These are just my observations now. When we landed there, I ended up taking off with the videographer who was there for the trip, Ben, and we just walked around Helsinki. As soon as we landed, we were able to take a train from the airport right to downtown Helsinki. Awesome. To be able to do that, didn't have to get a cab, nothing, just sat on the train, watched the scenery going by, got a chance to sit and listen to people speak Finnish. Really difficult language to learn. To say thank you, it's kiitos. And if you're saying cheers, it's kiitos. So we rode the train into the city and walked around. Just beautiful city. You don't see a lot of trash in the streets at all, hardly any at all. The only quote-unquote trash that I could see is like band stickers and things that were on light posts and all that kind of stuff, which I thought was kind of cool. But yeah, very clean city and just happy people. In fact, I think before I left, I'd read something about Finland being one of the happiest countries in Europe and even in the world. And I'm not surprised. I mean, yeah, they've got the weather to contend with, and honestly, the weather the whole time I was there was kind of fantastic. It was right around 0 to like -10°C, and there was really no wind or weather to speak of at all, which was, you know, kind of awesome. It was just really cool walking around that city, and it felt familiar. In fact, Ben, the guy that I was walking around with, had been to Montreal, and he said it seemed to him to feel a lot like Montreal. Anyway, we got done walking around. We wanted to stop and grab some lunch. So we both wanted like actual Finnish type food. So we stopped into this one bar downtown, and I got a chance to have a Reindeer Burger. So those of you that are vegetarians, you can close your ears now. I got to tell you, reindeer is fantastic. I flippin' love it. It's a very lean meat. They don't eat anything bad. They eat like moss and lichens and stuff like that. So that's what they eat. So they don't eat crap. And they have just lean, tender, just delicious. Reindeer is delicious. And I know they're cute and wonderful and all that, but you know, they're delicious. That and an IPA, it was perfect. It was a nice end to that trip. Nokian was awesome. They were just the best host to us, and there were, let's see, I think there were about 6 of us all together. After we went for our little trip into Helsinki, we had to do that because part of our group arrived in the morning and the other part was arriving in the afternoon at the Helsinki airport. So the choice was sit at the Helsinki airport until the rest of the people arrive, or go off and do something. We chose to walk around Helsinki. Anyway, group all gathered up, and then we jumped another plane and flew to Ivalo, which is way up north. In fact, it's really close to the Russian border in Finland. And in fact, we did actually get a chance to see Russia while we went on a couple of little excursions and expeditions with the group. But we all stayed in a cabin. It was kind of a communal type thing. We had like a common living room, kitchen area, but we each had our own rooms with our own bathrooms. It was pretty swank, honestly. It was an actual like log cabin kind of thing. I mean, my room smelled like wood. It was freaking fantastic. They had a sauna, of course, it's Finland, and a jacuzzi. Once again, it's Finland, of course, and it was my first sauna experience, and it was pretty intense. The coolest thing is sitting outside at night in a jacuzzi where you're warm, but holding your beer just above the water, and it's like minus 10 C outside. Your beer stays ice cold. That was really cool. So you're like, Eric, you're doing all this stuff. What did you do for work? All right, well, we went to White Hell, which is Nokian's testing track for their winter tires and things. They have just an amazing test track that's on a frozen lake. They also have a long, it's funny because our tour guide, AJ, I called him our Finnish spirit guide. He called it the ice hall, but when he said it, he would say it, the ice hole. I said, what'd you call me? So from then on, it was the ice hole. It's just a long, it's almost like a really long skating rink. I would say it's, might even be like a quarter mile long. It was pretty stinking long, and it's all ice so that they can test different traction on just a controlled surface with ice, because obviously there's a lot of weather there, and whenever there's snow on the ice, it obviously changes the conditions. It's basically there for consistency. I got a chance to do a couple of things. In a way, this was kind of an answer to that video that I did about putting your best tires on the front or back. You know, I was driving out there and in the snow, and people were saying you should really use snow tires for that situation. I totally agree with that. And Nokian gave me the perfect opportunity to illustrate that. And we tried, they had some competitors' snow tires, they had all-season radials, they also had their snow tires, obviously, and some studded snow tires of theirs as well, that we could do some testing on. And they were all like Audi Q4s or some Audi SUV. Honestly, I'm not as familiar with Audis. In fact, I screwed up on my Instagram or my social media when I posted that I was driving an Audi RS6, when in actuality it was an RS4, so sorry about that. But that's what they had with the studded, really cool tires on it. We were able to take that around the track. Yeah, they actually let us drive. So anyway, I got a chance to do some braking testing, you know, which is great because they had it all set up with the cone to start your braking, and then they had it measured all out in meters from there. And I was able to try all seasons, I was able to try some winter tires, and then I did some Nokian studded snow tires. And it kind of got broken up because I'd done the first two tests, and I did 2 runs each time to try to take an average of how long it would take to stop with the different types of tires. And then partway through, they're like, hey, Eric, you want to go drive the RS4 around the track? And I'm like, yeah. So I left, and then I came back a little bit later. Oh, and by the way, I spun the Audi out. Didn't kill it, spun it out, and also I tagged a snowbank with it. I'm gonna dig that footage up and I'll share it with you. The best driver was Aaron, and I'll put a link to his stuff down in the description. He was actually really good and did just about as good as their test driver. And if you think to yourself, yeah, wouldn't it be cool to be the guy that's testing the tires all the time? Well, Tommy, who was the driver that was there, I think he really liked his job, but at the same time, it's a job. It's like anything, you know, you think it's going to be really great, and then you start doing it, it becomes a job. A lot of you out there are like super excited about becoming mechanics. You actually become mechanics, and you find out it's a job and it's a way you make a living, and eventually your enthusiasm for the task sort of wears a little thin. That even happens with things like testing snow tires on a snow track and on a lake out up in Finland. But that's what we were there to do. And then after we finished on the track, we took sort of an SUV safari. They have another track that leads through basically, you know, Lapland, the forest. And there's nothing around. I mean, there's a few houses here and there, but I mean, it is, you're out in it. We drove all the way up to the end of the trail, and then we turned around, and on the way up I drove all seasons. And I could definitely tell a difference between the all seasons and when I came back, I had studded tires or winter tires, but anyway, the winter tires on the way back. So it was obvious difference between driving with all seasons and driving with the snow tires. So yeah, snow tires are the way to go in snow. Duh. It was nice to have the practical, and it was nice to do it in such an environment because that place is absolutely beautiful. In fact, we're going up that SUV trail, and once again, reindeer. they're kind of everywhere up there, and they're all owned by somebody. So they're, you know, you don't mess with the reindeer in Finland because they're owned by somebody, and it's a really important thing. So you don't mess with people's reindeer up there, but they are there. In fact, we had a couple of them on the trail, and there was so much snow on the trail, the reindeer really didn't want to jump into the snowbank and get out of our way. So it was almost like, you know, they were leading us. Like it was Santa, like Santa's sleigh being led by reindeer, And there's this whole caravan of all of us in Audi SUVs following these reindeer up this trail. I almost feel bad about telling you because it was such a great experience. And I took a lot of footage, and Ben that I talked about, he took a lot of footage, and I plan to compile all that stuff together. Unfortunately, I'm in the space like in between my trip from Finland, and I'm heading to Atlanta next week to do some work with Pull Apart. So I don't really have the time to put all that stuff together. Also, well, there's no sooner did I get back and the whole scandal with Nokian Tires came about. So unfortunately their name is a bit tarnished right now. You know, let that blow over a little bit. As far as my take on that whole thing, well, first of all, that was a different CEO. It was a different time, so it's a different era. So I'm going to get their official statement and everything and put it all together for you. The bottom line is, I can say this about Nokian Tires. I walked all over Helsinki looking for vehicles that had Nokian tires. I even took pictures of them. They're very, very popular in Finland, you know, hometown team, that kind of thing. But even so, I have a lot of people in Europe that tell me Nokian Tires, Nokian Tires, Nokian Tires are like the best. And, you know, there were a couple of other ones that they mentioned, but there are a lot of people that, you know, really swear by Nokian Tires. Now here in the States, they're available, but they're not as readily available. They're not as widely known as far as the winter tire market. And I believe they're going to be marketing some all seasons soon. But I will say this about them. They all have a very vested interest in making the best product they possibly can. And, you know, many companies do that, but I mean, they went through the expense and the effort to fly all of us, you know, media, quote unquote, out there to try to share that experience and share their enthusiasm for their brand. And I realized that, you know, that's what you do, but I could tell the people that were working there weren't just working a job. They were truly enthusiastic about what they did. Bottom line, takeaway, it was just one of those experiences that I feel very fortunate to have had. I'm eternally grateful to you for helping to put me where I am so I can do all this cool stuff. But I brought my cameras, I got footage, I plan to share as much of it with you as possible. I shared some with you in this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Anyway, before the sky rains down on me, I'm going to close this one out. If you have automotive questions, please head over to ericthecarguy.com. I'll put a link in the description to make it easy. Social media, Google+, Facebook, Twitter, also Instagram. And I close each of my videos. Be safe, have fun, stay dirty. Thanks for watching. See you next time.